Hello and welcome to the video for Thursday, September 17th for animation. I'm going to open up the waiting room. Boom, with the waiting room.
Hello.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Fine yourself?
Good, good. It's the end of the school week. Yay! Yay. Most muted yay ever. Yeah. Um, let's see. We got a lot of cool people in the class. That's very
Good
awesome.
morning.
Morning, Vlad. How are you?
I'm alive.
Is that an improvement?
Usually.
Okay. Hi, Hugo and Luna. How are you guys doing? Arr. Let me go ahead and put you guys in the attendance for today. Pima.edu. Okay. So did any of you guys get massive allergy circumstances in the last couple of days?
I can't say that I have.
Oh, okay. I thought I was the only one, but then I saw this friend of mine on Facebook got some serious allergy action. So I thought maybe it was affecting a bunch of people, but maybe not. Okay. Boom. All right. Well, let me see. Go to the class website here. And let's see. So I got to check and see if one person is in attendance. Okay, I don't see him yet. So we have one student who is scheduled to give a presentation today, but he's not here yet. So we'll see if he shows up. But in the meantime, we'll move on and talk about other things. So let's see. You guys remember at the beginning of the class, we looked at the history of animation. We looked at all these things like the zoetrope and all those kind of crazy optical toys.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, somebody just put out a video to celebrate all the inventions of the guy who invented. Now I'm gonna do my best to pronounce this. The phenakitoscope, which is the it's like the round dials of printed paper that was on cardboard that spun around and did some of the first animations. So I'm going to show you this video because it's pretty cool. It shows all the guys' different work, and it's a pretty cool animation in and of itself. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and click here. Now let's see. Wait, what do I have to do? Refresh this? All right. What do you guys think of that?
That was really cool.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Um, it was cool how they did. Like it looked like it was kind of stop motion animation right here, where they set up a scene with little paper buildings and cars and just moved them one frame at a time and took pictures, and then they kind of zoomed in on this and it went into sort of digital animation. Um, but yeah, I thought it was really cool and really fun, and I noticed a lot of things I hadn't noticed before, like. I noticed in the one where the guy's juggling the balls, when I saw it the first time, I just saw that he was juggling the balls. But the second time I noticed that there was a little frog. I don't know if I can find that particular one, but there was a little frog at the bottom that was eating the balls as they were going down. So some of these were, I guess my point is some of these were a little more complicated than I originally thought. Oh, here it is. So did you guys notice these frogs down here?
I thought that was a platypus.
Oh, is it a platypus? It might be. Okay. Yeah, it looks kind of like a weird animal. I guess I thought it was a dog because dogs kind of sit like that, but yeah,
No,
so
it looks like a frog alligator.
a frogigator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just kind of a fantastic creature, but um it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure these things are worth a pretty penny now if you had originals of these, but it's pretty cool that when they invented these, as soon as they figured out the technology, they started getting really creative with the content and doing all this stuff, which I'm sure just delighted both children and adults alike. And then they had, you can learn a lot about their society by the kinds of things that they had on here. Like they had people dancing, and they had like this crazy thing here. Like, what is this? Oh, this is like the king eating like probably a commoner, or maybe it's even the King of England eating an American or something. But then they had these kind of Punch and Judy ones too. They had people dancing and singing, or like celebrating, playing guitar. There was one Punch and Judy one that I want to find real quick. You guys familiar with Punch and Judy? Has anybody ever heard that term before?
No.
Oh, this is kind of, let's see. So Punch and Judy is a famous puppet show that was created in England like centuries ago. And basically, kids like to watch puppet shows, but they also really like it when funny things happen, like when somebody pulls out a rolling pin and smacks somebody on the head with it, right? And so the whole Punch and Judy show was basically Punch was the husband of his wife, Judy, and he would come into the scene and he would tell her about something that he did wrong, and she would basically hit him on the head with a rolling pin, and the kids would just laugh and laugh, and that was basically the core of the puppet show. And so there's kind of a, like I said, a Punch and Judy aspect in here. I just have to find it. Oh, here it is. So see this woman who has the big stick and she's hitting the guy on the head, right? That was like totally Punch and Judy. Um, anyway, just really interesting, fascinating on a lot of different levels. The artwork, the sort of cultural significance of it, and the historical significance of it in regards to animation. Let me see if I can pull Punch and Judy up on Wikipedia. Punch and Judy. Yeah, so here they are. Let's see if I can get this big or bigger. So that's Punch right there, and that's his wife Judy. And it says Punch and Judy is a traditional puppet show featuring Mr. Punch and his wife Judy. The performance consists of a sequence of short scenes, each depicting an interaction between two characters, most typically Mr. Punch and one other character who usually falls victim to Punch's slapstick. It is often associated with traditional British culture. The various episodes of Punch comedy, often provoking shock laughter, are dominated by the clowning of Mr. Punch. Yeah, okay. We don't have to read much more of this, but anyway, and here you can see an example. This is how they used to do it in the old days, and this is how they still do it today. There was a little booth that was set up that had the puppeteer inside of it, and then people would sit around and watch the show, and then they'd pass a hat around to pay the puppeteer. So pretty cool, pretty fun stuff. All right, let's go back to the class website here. And let me make sure I don't have anybody waiting in the waiting room. Let's see. Oh, looks like we got everybody there. And let me open up my chat here. Okay, it says interesting animation. Is this modern? It's a collection of cultures. So yeah, the the animation itself is modern. I think it was just done, the one that we just saw. But of course the the actual discs that have the original animations on them, those are from more than 100 years ago, when they were first created, and it's a celebration of that guy's life, the guy that created that. Okay, let's see. A couple days is like all the time I have to go out and let's see, wear a mask, like cough and sneeze, and people run. Oh, JD's talking about how he's doing. Okay, let's see. So let me go down here to the second thing here. Okay, let me see if, I don't think Zion ever jumped in. No, he's not there. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the next thing. So, of course, we're starting to do these cognitive drawing exercises that we're going to do regularly. And we have the next one here. And what you're going to need to do is download this file, this PDF, and open it in Photoshop. And I'll go through the process again, just so you remember. But go to the class website, pima.dreamco.com, go to animation, go to Thursday, click on this thing that says, cognitive drawing day 3, cognitive drawing files. Click on that, and it's going to download a PDF called, I think it's called day 3. Yeah. Now, the day 3 file, you don't want to open just the PDF because you won't be able to do any drawing on it. What you want to do is download the PDF, and then you want to open Photoshop and open the PDF from that. And the way you do that is you go to Photoshop and you go File, Open. You go to wherever it is that you downloaded that day3.pdf, which is probably in my downloads. Let's see. Okay, there's that. All right, day 3. Okay, so you open Photoshop, locate the file, hit open. Now when you hit open on a PDF, it's always going to give you this choice here, which page you want to open. And what you want to do is hold down your Shift key and click on the last page. So all 4 pages are blue. And then you hit OK. And it's going to open all 4 pages. Now, we're not going to draw on all 4 pages, but we're going to do some readings on some of the pages and then draw on the other ones. Now, it's going to open up 4 pages. The first page will be the rightmost page. The second page will be the second to the right, right? Now, so what's going to happen? We're going to watch the video, and he's going to tell us, he's going to go through these pages and stuff. And when it comes time to draw, what you're going to want to do, once again, is you're going to want to create a new layer on top of the pages that you draw on. So, like, for example, this is like the second page of day 3, or this is, yeah. You just come over here to the layers palette, which is on your right. You click this little plus symbol, and you add a new layer. And now you can draw on that layer and not on the page below. And that helps you with erasing and stuff like that. So the first page of this, we're going to read. The second, third, and fourth pages we're actually going to draw on. So you need to open all 4 of them. And you might just want to make new layers on pages 2, 3, and 4, which is what I've done. I already I opened this a little earlier today, so I've got 2 sets of everything, so I'm just going to close the second set. Okay, and so that is one that has the, let's see, there's day 1, day 2, there's another day 1 and another day 2. So, oh, this is the one I just gave as an example. Okay, that's why. All right, so let me kill this day 1. And then there's a day 2 right there that I can kill as well. Okay, so now I've got day 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I've got, you can see I've got an extra layer on each of the 3 pages, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, how we doing? Everybody doing okay getting that downloaded and opened up and putting layers on the pages?
Yee.
Okay, cool. So now what we'll do is we'll go to the video. So I'll click on this and we'll watch the video.
All right, welcome to day 3 of cognitive drawing. If you don't have cognitive drawing, you can go to cognitivedrawing.com right now and pick up yourself a copy. It's 160 pages, 90 days of exercises where you will study the full male figure and memorize it from every angle. All right, so let's talk about body types and styles and shapes and proportions. Every person is unique in shape and size, and this makes it difficult to find a standard. Not to mention all the different styles of art you can draw in as well. So what are the correct proportions of the male body? To settle this problem, let's take a look at this classic sketch by Leonardo da Vinci titled The Vitruvian Man. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Leonardo studied proportions in depth. Let's see what we can learn from his sketch. All right, so this is that famous sketch. I added some underwear to make this all kid-friendly, mother-approved. Let's just go over here and study this a little closer. The first proportion you might notice is the dividing line right at the crotch. So right where the crotch is, it's right in the middle of the body. So if you split up the body, top and the half, you'll notice that that crotch line is at the 50% mark. At least in this sketch it is. Notice how my body is 8 heads tall, 4 heads on the top half and 4 heads on the bottom half. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You can kind of see where the knees are right here at the 2 heads. You can see kind of where it lines up with the calf muscles right here. My nipples are 2 heads down. So right at the nipple mark, 2 heads down. My belly button is 3 heads down. Bloop, right, exactly. So the goal of this book is to not teach you all this stuff mechanically. The goal of this book is to help you guys see this stuff for yourself. Part of drawing, a huge part of drawing, is being able to see things. And so that's what I really want you guys to do with this book and these exercises, is learn to see things and come up with these conclusions yourself. So it's your job to start noticing these universal proportions in everything you draw and see. Okay? All right. So now we're going to get onto a piece of paper and actually do this exercise. The first thing we'll want to do is throw in a head.
Okay, so let me go ahead and minimize this and go back to Photoshop here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is this page here, which is page 2. And what you want to do, once again, open it in Photoshop from the PDF you downloaded, add a new layer there, and then, of course, you can zoom in on this little area here. And what you want to do is draw the character that's on the left. You're drawing him on the right. And you want to make it so that his body proportions, the different parts of the body land at the same places in your drawing that they do on the left. So, you can draw a head that's obviously going to take up one of these set of spaces and put a little neck on it. Then start drawing the shoulder blades and so on and so forth. Mine are way too, the angle is just way off. Right? And then, so just go ahead and draw this guy, and then we'll stop and look at the video for the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my guy right here. What I'll do is I'll give you a few minutes to draw this guy, and I'll stop sharing my screen so you can have your whole screen to draw with. Okay, go ahead and draw that guy. I'm going to draw him too. Okay, so um, I finished my guys. Some of you guys may still be drawing, which is just fine. Everybody is on a different schedule as far as how fast they draw. Um, Anyone else? Wacom tablet acting wonky. Zach, I'm using the Wacom tablet and it's acting just fine for me. I don't know. You could check a couple of different things. Make sure you downloaded the drivers. You can always restart the program. Different things like that. See what, unplug and plug back in the power supply and see if any of that tweaking helps. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm just going to go ahead and play the rest of the video where Jason is drawing this drawing, and he'll be very quick, and it'll give you guys who are still drawing a minute to keep drawing. So here's my little drawing that I made of the guy. It looks like I just put some little blob of color there. And of course it's not perfect or anything, but we're paying attention to where the proportions lie, like where the knees hit and where the belly button is and the nipples and things like that. And that helps you figure out the proportions of the human body. Okay, so let's let him finish his drawing.
Because we already have these heads counted out, 8 heads tall. We know that this halfway point right here, 4 heads down, so 50% of the body, 50%, we know that this is the crotch line. Remember? 2 heads down is the nipples, 3 heads down is the belly button, crotch, and then we have kneecaps down here. So let's just quickly throw in some shapes. You don't have to do crazy stuff here. I'm just throwing in some really simple shapes just to kind of work with proportions. That's all we're thinking about is proportions. We're not thinking about how to make this body look perfect. So nipples, belly button, crotch line, knees, and we've got feet. And we're just doing real simple shapes, just triangles and lines. That's all we're thinking about. Let's just throw in the arms here, and you can see that I have kind of the hands kind of go below this crotch line area. So you can just have something really simple like this, just kind of extending out to kind of give you all the information you need for the proportions. It looks like he has a big diaper on, so let's change that. Let's give him some shorts. There we go. So this is our basic guy with basic proportions. We're not focusing on anything like muscles. You can throw in a little bit of muscles, but we're not focusing on that because that's what we're going to learn in cognitive drawing. Right now, we're trying to memorize the proportions. And so this is your basic guy. Right? Makes sense? See how quickly we were able to do that? It might take some time to study this and practice this to kind of have that memorized. But let's move on to the next page. This is still part of day 3. So here's our reference. We're going to do an...
Okay. All right. So the next page we're going to go on to is the page 3. And so go over here to page 3. Make sure you put a new layer on this. And what we're going to be doing is that same cognitive drawing method of taking a look at the guy and then drawing him from memory, right? Now, the easiest way to do that on Photoshop is to like zoom in on this and then just move the whole page over or whatever. So like you really just spend a couple seconds, like 3 seconds looking at the guy, right? Then you can click on the hand tool, and the hand tool, by the way, if you click on your space bar, the hand tool will come up, and you can grab your whole page and you can move it over, and then you can draw in here from memory without looking at the guy. And another option for you is just to look at the guy and then zoom in a hell of a lot, right? So you can't see him. Now, one thing you probably want to do, and we'll watch Jason's video for this first, but you probably want to mark out where the 8 heads would be. And that way you can start to remember things like, okay, the nipples are at 2, The crotch line is at four. I believe the belly button was at 3. The kneecaps are at 6. Things like that. So let's watch his video a little bit, and then we can get started on this.
Actual cognitive drawing study of the proportions. Now remember, it's just for the proportions, nothing else. I match all the proportions that we studied on the last page. Cover up the reference and draw this simple guy with the correct height proportions from memory. Keep it very simple. Okay, so we're going to cover up.
Now, one thing that I saw a student doing the other day, I think it might have been you, Blake, at school, was they made like a block and covered up their character that way. So what you could do is you could create yet another layer. So one layer you're going to draw on, and one is going to be the block layer. And then you could just, make a selection here and go edit fill and fill it with, white or black or whatever. And then deselect, select, deselect. And now you have this block that you can leave right there, and basically you can just turn it on whenever you're not supposed to look at the character and turn it off when you're supposed to look at him. So that's a clever way to do it as well. In this case, we can, then we don't have to worry about moving the page around at all. We can just kind of zoom in to where we want to go to draw. And I guess this is as big as I'm going to get it. And then start doing the drawing.
Right? So you can do this if you want. You can kind of throw in some head lengths. So that's 4. So let's have this head. We're just having throwing the body in there real quick, just some real basic lines. Knees right on that line, crotch right on this line. So if we want to have shorts, nipples, and we'll just have the hands come down below. Or you can have this guy going like this. Maybe he's going, hey guys, look at this. You can erase some things if you want. Again, it's only proportions we're thinking about. You're not thinking about anything else. We're gonna string together all the details and study all the details and practice them later. Okay? But right now we're just thinking about proportions. That crotch line, knee line, belly button, nipples, and how it equates to how many heads tall you have.
Okay, so why don't you guys take a minute and draw him. You may have been drawing him already. I'm going to do the same. I'll stop my share so you guys can have your whole screen. And then we'll reconvene in a minute and move on to the next drawing. Okay, so I drew my guy there, and this is the first one drawn from memory. And of course, using the cognitive drawing technique, we're going to draw the next one while looking at the reference, and then the next one from memory. So you guys can go ahead and work on that, and I'll play the video. Let's see. Okay. So Victoria, I see that it says you don't have a tablet, or are you interested in maybe checking one out from Pima? Okay, well, let me know in the chat there if you like. Okay, so I'm going to go to back to the videos here, and we'll
Okay.
watch.
And then we just go down here, this one here, you draw it while you're looking at your reference, okay? So you'll again go through this whole thing again with your head lengths, kind of throw out some lines, foreheads down, foreheads again are the feet, body, you can get this stuff down really fast. I mean, let's just do this as fast as we can, and we can see belly button, nipples. See, even I'm messing up here. Let's straighten this up a little bit. So we have the crotch line. Now, one of the things that's always, even still to me, knees. The pen is going crazy on me. And feet, okay? One of the things that's always hard for people to get is the length of the legs in comparison to the length of the rest of the body. I see a lot of beginner students just really making those legs long because they're like, this is so unusual. Why are the legs so long? And that's understandable. It's confusing because we're all used to drawing little cartoony characters, like proportions like that, and that's what a lot of cartoons are drawn like. And we're not trying to do that. That's great. It's a great style, but it's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to do quick, realistic proportions. And so again, I guess I just
Okay, so now you're going to draw that second one, and we could take his advice and do it kind of quickly. So in my case, I can turn off this block, and I got to zoom out some so I can see both, and click on my little pen tool here. And I really, those guidelines are a lifesaver for me because my proportions really get off if I don't have them. So one thing that I just thought of is I could put 2 guidelines in here and then divide that exactly in half, or as far as my eye can see, right? And divide that in half again. Let's see if this will work out. I can already tell even my divisions are not that perfect, right? So then, and then if I divide that in half again, let's see how many this gives me. Yeah, like I have bigger gaps at the bottom here than that. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so that gave me like a perfect 8. And you can see everything's really weird though. Like the gaps are bigger down here. But if I wanted to just kind of go quickly like he did, not really thinking about anything other than the proportions. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess this is where I get confused about. Let's see. That's 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads, 4 heads. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that should be where the crotch line is. There's the belly button, and then these would be the nipples, right? So we can do this kind of thing if we want. And then the top of the shorts or whatever. And then we can come down. Just some shapes like this. We got to remember to put a little bit of a calf out there. Okay, give him some triangular feet. Okay, the knees at 6, line 6. You can see my guy still looks kind of weird, but I'll put some shorts on him. and give him some arms. Now the thing about the arms is, if you're going to draw the hands end halfway down the top part of the leg. So this line right here should be about halfway down this like femur bone. Okay, and then I can go in and clean them up a little bit. Get rid of this little thing here. Yeah, so now I've got my guy, but he's also got his he's also got his drawing lines, his construction lines in there as well. Now, if I were just looking, I just drew that very quickly like Jason did without even really looking at the reference. If I were looking at the reference, I could do a much cleaner version that would look just like that guy, which is, technically what I was supposed to do, because that's what this says, draw looking at the reference. But Jason had us draw it really quickly just so we could get used to the idea of creating proportions and not worrying so much about details. And then so we'll go back to his video again. And then now he's just drawing the third one, of course, from memory.
Did it with you guys. So let's cover up all this. Sometimes it's a little hard to cover up everything. And again, let's just go over it one more time from memory. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the thing is, you don't have, pretty soon you'll get to a point to where you can just kind of draw this stuff without much assistance of the lines. You don't have to really draw on all those lines anymore, and you can get those proportions figured out pretty quickly. That's the goal, is just to be able to throw proportions together really quickly and just get your main shapes thrown onto paper, even if it's a wireframe. Some artists like using wireframes like this, like stick figures. And it's all about getting the proportions. Those are the same proportions. If my pen would work. So that's what we're studying in today's lesson.
Okay, so see if you can do that third one here, and of course you can cover everybody up. So what I can do is I can turn on my layer here. I can actually hold down Command T. Let's see, I got to make sure I'm on the correct layer. If I do Command or Control T, that allows me to transform to scale this box, right? I could do that. I could even put an additional box over here if I want and fill that. I mean, you guys can do whatever you want, move the page up or whatever. But this just makes it so that I can't see anybody. All right. And now I'm going to try to take Jason's method, and I'm first going to do my little thing about making my lines, because I think that's helpful to me. And then draw the guy. One, two, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here. Oops. Looks like I did something a little weird here. Let's see. Well, if these are supposed to be his knees at 6, and what I did was I made these the calf part's too small. So that's where these proportion lines can really be helpful. And when you're drawing kind of quickly, you can kind of forget things like that, and then that can help you, get things back to where they should be. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this guy, I guess, still looks a little weird. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with him, but okay. So yeah, draw your last guy, and then we'll go back to the video and see what's next.
So focus on proportions, not on hitting all the anatomy. You don't need to worry about anatomy, just straight lines, simple lines, proportions. That's all we're thinking about, trying to memorize those proportions, just like we talked about here. And then the final test for today will be this. If you've really memorized your proportions, then you can work with this. It's going to look really weird upside down, but just think, how many heads tall are we? 3, 4. That's about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So try to draw this as good as you can from memory. Remember that halfway point. That's our critical point. It sure is hard to draw this stuff upside down. But if you have your proportions memorized, then it's not going to be a problem. All you know is, oh, okay, I got to put the crotch there, the belly button here, the nipples here. Hands go a little bit below that bottom line, right? And you have yourself the basic proportions. My pen is just not helping me. Hopefully this is dark enough so you can see. So my pencil stopped working and my camera ran out of batteries all at the same time. So I ended up sharpening this one. I don't have a pencil sharpener, so I just used a knife. I finished this up with darker lines so that you could see it. And I have to admit, it's hard to draw upside down, but this really tests your brain to make sure you just have the proportions down. And so now for the ultimate test. Yeah, it doesn't look that good, and I would never actually draw a character upside down, but it definitely tested me to make sure I knew the proportions. One thing you can do as well is you can use your pencil like this to kind of mark out a little bit more precisely. See, it looks like some of my lines were a little short. It goes to the bottom of that gold line, and so it looks like my lines were just a little bit short. If I continue this down, the crotch should have been a little lower, and that would have made the legs a little less stretched. So let's just go ahead and fix that, and then these arms would be a little longer as well. If they come down to here, and then the actual hands start here, right? Really, really rough stuff here. So don't try to get precise with any of this work. Again, we're just playing with proportions, okay? So yeah, the knee lines would be a little lower. So these are some of the problems that I ran into. Just getting those knees a little lower. Let's just put them right there on that line. Yeah, we'd actually lower our belly button a little bit too, and let's go about there. All right, so that's what my character looks like when I flip it back over and refine it a little bit more. So I suggest doing that after you've drawn it upside down. Flip it over, refine it. Just make sure you are really getting an idea of those proportions. And as we move on through this book, we'll figure out how to make all this anatomy look perfect. And we'll focus on legs and arms and muscles and all these different groups. So don't worry, we will get there. All right, guys, so that is the end of day 3.
Okay, so let's do that next one. Um, so we got this page done, and now we go on to day 3, page 4. Make sure you have a new layer on that, and then draw your guy. Let's see. So he's got one head's worth here for us. So that's going to be the proportions. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here. Okay. So here's that. Belly button. Let's see. Okay. So
Wait, are we supposed to be drawing this?
yeah.
Cool. Gotcha.
Okay, and then when you get your guy like this done, you can in Photoshop you can go image rotation 180 degrees, and then you'll see your guy, and you can see if you can improve on his proportions a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty easy to get off on this. And of course, if you just get one of those lines off, you're kind of hosed the whole way. But I mean, that's what the exercise is for, is to teach us how to get better at this stuff. Okay, so yeah, so go ahead and finish up your drawings. Hopefully you had some luck, getting the proportions pretty good in the upside down guy. It is difficult, like he said, and then you can turn it over and try and fix things up a bit. Okay, I'm gonna check. Let's see, how would I go about getting a tablet? Okay, so let's see. You would arrange a time and place to pick it up from me. Okay, so let's see what's next. Okay. So I gotta check and see if my guy showed up. And he did not. So, okay, we're not gonna have that presentation today. So how are you guys doing? Do you need another minute to finish? Are you finished with the drawings?
I suck at this.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. It's pretty normal to suck at this when you first do it. But you know, practice makes perfect, and the more you do it, the better you get proportions, and then you really notice it in your drawing. Let's see. So are you guys ready for me to move on, or would you like a few more minutes?
I'm good to move on.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. And by the way, you can take your Photoshop files and you can save them in a folder. You can create a folder on your computer, and you know, maybe something called cognitive drawing or something like that. And oh, there's already a folder called cognitive drawing, so I better find that one. Okay, here it is. So, and then you can just save each one of these PSDs. So there's going to be day 3, 3-4, which is day 3, page 4. And then there's this page here. Oops. Looks like I put that on the wrong layer. Save in the same folder. And then there was the original page. And you don't really have to save that page that doesn't have any drawing on it if you don't want to. But, you know, these will be helpful to you. It's good reference. You're basically, by the end of the semester, you'll basically have most of the book, you know, downloaded on your computer. And you'll have your reference of your drawing. And then you can also look back and see how you've improved. So that's a good thing to do. Let me go ahead and close all these up. Boom, boom, boom. Don't save. Okay, and there's a giant monkey. Okay. All right, so next what we're going to do is we're going to watch the next in the 12 Principles of Animation video series. So this is called Straight Ahead and Pose to Pose Animation. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
All you need to...
I'll just mute out the commercial here.
They don't.
This video is based on the 12 principles of animation as described by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. Alright, so the fourth animation principle is called straight ahead and pose to pose. This term describes two methods used to animate drawings. The first method, straight ahead, is where you draw the first drawing, and then you draw the second drawing, and then the third drawing, and so on. It's basically animating as you go. The second method, pose to pose, is where you draw the beginning and end of each main pose and go back later to fill in the drawings in between. So there are benefits to both methods. Pose to pose is generally better for most actions because it gives you the most control. You have a good idea of what the action is going to look like very early in the process. So instead of worrying if the character is going to end up in the right place, you decide where they end up from the beginning and work backwards. Also, using straight ahead animation can lead to the character changing size or being on a different level from beginning to end. Pose to pose can save you a lot of work. If you were to animate a whole sequence straight ahead and then realize that one pose is off, you would have to change several drawings to fix that one pose. But with pose to pose, you do the main poses to see if it feels right, and you can catch problems early on. Straight ahead animation, on the other hand, is good for animation that is unpredictable. Some examples of this include fire, water particles, clouds of dust, explosions. The reason why straight ahead works well is because there are laws of physics that work at a constant rate, and it's hard to predict how it will work pose to pose. So when animating fire, for example, you just go with the flow based on what you know about fire and let the fire kind of create itself. If we were to look at the beginning and end, we wouldn't even know how to in between it. However, you can still use pose to pose to make the general shapes and fill it in between to make it smoother. Another example of unpredictable animation is overlapping action, which will be covered in depth in the next video. Let's say that a character has floppy ears. You could draw the figure with his ears for each pose and just draw the in-betweens accordingly, but another method is to animate the figure using pose to pose without the ears, and then going through and adding the ears using straight ahead. This is good because you can focus on the figure's movements without the distraction of having to do his ears, and you can also focus on the physics of his ears without the distraction of his body's movement. This also applies to hair, tails, and other appendages. When you work pose to pose, there's some vocabulary that goes into it. There are main poses called keys, secondary poses called extremes, and further broken down poses called breakdowns. Make the keys first, perfect them, then decide the farthest the character will go in each direction using extremes, and then decide how you want the extremes to connect using breakdown poses. At this point, you can start in-betweening. Working with this sort of hierarchy will give you the most control, as opposed to doing your pose-to-pose straight ahead, so to speak. This is like pose-to-pose within pose-to-pose, because you are perfecting the poses at each level before moving down to the next level. So that's all I've got for straight ahead and pose-to-pose. The next principle is called follow-through and overlapping action. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Okay, so two different principles here. Straight ahead and pose to pose animation. Now what we're going to do is an animation exercise in Adobe Animate. So you want to start up the Adobe Animate program. You know, when you open it up, it'll probably default to character animation. You can just leave that default setting and hit create, and it will just give you a big box like this, right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do two animations, two simple animations, one using straight ahead and one using pose to pose. And what we're going to do is something similar to what we saw in his drawing, which is we're going to have some type of creature leaping over something. Now, I'm going to leave the creativity end of this up to you. So it could be in his, there was a guy jumping over a ravine, you know, a ditch or whatever, and you could have something like that. Or you could have a pig jumping over a flower, or a spaceman jumping over a rock. Whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. What we're focusing on is the jumping, and doing the jumping in two different ways, pose to pose and straight ahead, right? So what you can do is, you know, if it's useful to you, you can open up Adobe Animate, you know, hit create to make this page, and then you can click on your line tool here, and you can, you know, you can draw a line, hold your shift key down, and draw a line like in the top third of the page, and then maybe draw another line, you know, down in the bottom third, right? Because we're going to do two animations, one up here and one down here. Now you could further use this line tool. You know, you just hold your shift key down every time you want to draw a straight line, and you know, create your ditch or whatever. If you want to have a ditch that the creatures are going to jump over, or you could just, like I said, put in some sort of animal or something they're jumping over. Right. So there's my ditches. Let's see if I can easily erase this stuff. So you can click on your eraser tool and then just get rid of all the lines you don't want. Right? Just kind of a rough approximation of a ditch or whatever. Okay, now the goal is to take either one of these or each one of these and make one pose-to-pose animation and one straight ahead. So, you know, I'm just going to do a little guy, and I'm going to zoom in on this. And first I'm going to label my first layer here. I'll just call it background, and that doesn't need to change. So I can even lock that layer if I want by clicking on this little lock icon, right? Now I can make a new layer, click on this plus symbol, and I can call this, you know, pose to pose, and then it's going to rename it for me. That's fine. And then I can make another one called straight underscore ahead, and now it won't name it because I put an underscore in there. Okay, so since my straight ahead layer is on top of my pose to pose, I might as well put straight ahead up here and pose to pose down here. Now I can use approximately the same type of looking guy in each one of these, and I'm on my straight ahead, so I'm going up here to the top. And in the straight ahead, on my first frame there, I'm going to draw, you know, a little guy. Oops, looks like I've got an orange fill color here. Make that black. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a little guy, just a little man. Okay, and I'm going to select my little guy and just move him down a little bit. Looks like I chopped off his feet. Okay, try that again. Maybe get a little bit longer of a selection there. Okay, so I'm just going to take him and, move him down right here. Okay, so this is the little guy that I'm going to animate jumping over this ditch straight ahead. And then down below, same animation, but pose to pose. So, of course, every single frame that I do, I'm going to have to move forward one frame on the timeline. I'm going to have to right-click or hit my Control key and click on my Macintosh. And first insert a blank keyframe. And that's going to make the next frame. Now, you'll notice that the background disappears because it was only on the first frame here. So if I want that background to stick around, I could go down here to like 2 seconds, right-click, and say insert keyframe. And now the background's going to stay the whole time, right? Now, if I go back to frame 2 that I just made, it has a blank keyframe on it. If I want to see my guy that's in frame 1, I have to turn on onion skinning, which is here, and he's going to appear in blue. So now, since I'm doing pose to pose, which is the type of animation you guys are probably most familiar with, I'm just going to, every single frame, I'm going to draw a new version of this guy, sort of crouching down and getting ready to jump over. So, and it doesn't have to be that sophisticated because we're not really focusing on the animation itself. We're just kind of focusing on where all of the poses end up. And I can turn off my onion skin if I want to see what my guy looks like. So I just kind of want him crouching down a little bit. Then I can go to the next frame. Of course, it makes no sense. He could never jump over this whole huge thing from there. But I'll go to the next frame and right-click, or in my case, Control-click, insert a blank keyframe. Make sure my onion skinning is on, and so now I see those two guys. And now I'm gonna, make him squash down even more. Okay, and it would probably take quite a while to get him to jump all the, when you look at how big I made my thing here, it's going to take him quite a while to jump over it. So maybe a better idea for me would be to try and make this hole a lot smaller so it'd be a quicker animation. So I can go down here to my background layer, unclick my lock, and I can select just this stuff here, and I can click on it and hold my shift key down and move it over and basically make the ditch much smaller, and then erase what I no longer want. Sorry, I've got one of those magic mice, and it has a mind of its own. It just kind of, you touch it and then the screen just scrolls completely off the page, right? Now, of course, I can do that down below as well, or I could just copy and paste this thing, whatever's easiest. But now it's a lot easier for me to perceive making this guy go across. And also I can zoom in, which will make my life easier, just to be able to see this. So maybe I'll just do a few more frames just to get him to the other side. So let's see, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I'll do 4 more frames. So now after he's squished down for 2, I'm going to have him start to leap up and then make his way all the way across. Okay, so I'm going to click here, insert key or blank frame. No, I want a blank frame. Why isn't it giving me that choice? Insert blank keyframe, that's what I want. Okay. All right, so now we've got him squished down, and it's kind of hard for me to tell which one is the one I just drew. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, so he's just right there. Okay, now I see him. Okay, so now I'm going to draw him leaping up. Okay, so he's going to be kind of half leapt up here. Doing his kind of Superman routine. Okay, so he's kind of starting his leap. Insert blank keyframe. Okay, now I want him to be, sort of halfway across. Okay, and then I'm going to use two more. I'm going to have one where he's here and then one where he's down. Now notice that when I got up to here, it's no longer showing all those other keyframes. And what that is that's the little blue line on your timeline. You can click on that and you can drag it back and it will show more keyframes, or you can show fewer keyframes. So like if all you want to see is just the last frame, you can drag that back just one. And that might be helpful because sometimes it's confusing. You see all these keyframes, you have no idea what's going on. Okay, so now I'm going to draw this guy coming down and getting ready to land. And I can already see a problem with this, which is, this guy is a little smaller than that guy. Like his proportions are a little smaller, and you don't want that because that's going to show up. So I can click on this free transform tool here. Let's see. I can click on my selection tool, drag a marquee around this guy, then click on my free transform tool here, which is the second tool. That's the tool that allows you to scale and rotate. And I can just try and scale this guy up a little bit so he looks more like he has the same proportions as all the guys before him. So that looks a little better to me. Maybe he's actually gotten a little bigger in this point. And it looks like I somehow screwed up my background there too, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's easily fixed. So now I'm going to go to my very last frame that I want to make. Insert my blank keyframe, turn on my onion skin, and now I'm going to draw him landing on the ground, which of course I'll have to adjust because I screwed it up, but that's okay. So now we make him put his head here. I'll try to get this guy to be the similar proportions to the other guys I have. And let's see. Now he's going to be like this, landing. And then there's some weird extra stuff I got here I got to get rid of. Okay, there we go. All right, and this guy, yeah, once again, he came out to be a little smaller than I wanted. Now, once again, I screwed that last thing up because I didn't have my background layer locked, and so I screwed it up. But if I lock it this time, I can draw a marquee around this guy, click the transform tool. I can hold my shift key down, and I can pull this guy up just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit like that. And maybe he'll be pretty good. He still looks kind of small to me. So I'm going to scale him just a little more. Let's see. Okay, I think that'll work. Okay, so now what I got to do is I got to fix all this stuff I junked up on the background, so I can unlock that. I can use my eraser tool to get rid of junk like this. Ooh, I'm supposed to be on the background layer, so let me click on the background layer. And then get rid of this. Okay. Now, if I can select this, oops, I guess I could lock my top layer there. Click on the background layer. And then if I can drag a marquee around just this line here, I could probably click on my selection tool and use my arrow tools on my keyboard to just move this line over until it matches up with the other line. And so now I've got my sort of ground plane back. Now I can turn on my onion skinning, grab this blue line and drag it all the way back, and then turn off my my lock and click on the first layer, and now you see the animation. Now, one thing that you can clearly see, or that I can clearly see now that I have all of the onions getting turned on, is the guy actually did get much smaller during this animation. So you see he was this ginormous guy right here in the first frame, and then he squished down, and then he started jumping, and his jump, he's a pretty consistent size from when he started jumping, but these 3 frames here, he's gigantic. So, you know, I have several options. I could go in and I could make these guys smaller, or I could make all these guys bigger or whatever. But this is, remember, what we call straight ahead animation, which is where you do 1 frame and then you do the next frame. And one of the things he said in his video was this is the kind of problem that you get. You can get characters that get smaller or larger, you know, doing this type of animation. Now, if I want to test it out, I can turn off my onion skinning. I can turn on my loop button, which is this one right here, and then grab this blue loop indicator and drag them so that they just cover these frames, and then just hit my play button, and you can see the guy's jumping super fast. So, you know, I can hit my pause button. One way to test this out, you can go modify document and you can change the frame rate. So I could do something like 6 frames a second instead of 30. See how that looks, right? And that gives you a much, you know, better indication of what's going on. But like I said, it's really clear in this animation that he is huge and that he gets tiny, right? Okay, and I hope you guys are following along and doing your own animation. Okay, Luna, I see that you're downloading Adobe Animate. That's fine. Okay, so the next step after this is to go ahead and do the same animation right below it, you know, on another layer, but this time we're going to do pose to pose. Now, pose to pose should theoretically yield some better results. And Victoria, by the way, why don't you stick around after the class ends and we can chat and figure out a time that I can get you this tablet. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I want to make my life easier, is I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to go down to my background layer, and I'm going to select this whole giant thing at the bottom and delete it. I'll select this extra piece here and delete it, right? And then I'll lock my top layer, select this entire thing here, and just copy it, and then do paste in center. That's fine. Or actually, why don't I do paste in place? So it's going to put it right there, and then all I have to do is click on it and hold my shift key down and drag down, and now I've got that same little chunk, my background. Now I can lock it so that I don't accidentally mess it up again, and then I can go in here, and I kind of want to be able to see that top one, because in some ways that's going to be helpful to me. I can sort of you know, gauge some of my animation for the second one based on the top one. But in pose to pose, which is the second layer we have here, what we're going to do is we're going to draw the key frames or the key poses first. So, you know, the way that I think of that, that would be him crouching down, him in the center, and then him landing. Those are the 3 poses. And if you draw those first and you get them all the same size, then it's a lot easier to do the in-between poses and create a smoother animation. That is pose-to-pose animation as opposed to straight ahead. So, okay, so now I'm on frame 1 here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is draw the guy right here, and I'm not even gonna start him standing up. I'm just gonna start him squished down a little bit. I'm gonna pay some attention to how big he is, so that when I draw him in these other poses, I can try and get him the same size. It doesn't matter that he's a different size from this guy on top. He just needs to be a consistent size in his own little animation. I'm going to get rid of his little hat there. Okay, so now that's my first pose, right? Now, this part may seem a little strange, but I actually want to put the next pose, I want to go 2 frames down because I'm going to put in a key pose, which is him right in the center, but there's going to be a pose that exists right between it that I'm not going to draw right now. So I'll go down to the next frame down, I'll right click and I'll do insert blank keyframe, and then I'll go to the next frame down and do insert blank keyframe again. Now I'll turn on my onion skinning, and so I'm going to draw on this third keyframe, and there's going to be nothing on the second one. So now that shows me where the guy was in the first frame, and so I'm going to go down here to the third frame, click on my little guy here, and you know, draw this guy. Try and draw him a similar size. I don't know why I'm just getting a single dot when I draw, but that's what's, every time I draw I get a single dot. Okay, let's see. Draw. Okay, there we go. And then try and keep him the same size. Let's see. Okay, he's pretty close. Okay, and so that's him in the middle, right? And now we'll do the same thing again. We'll make a blank keyframe will be the next frame, and then we'll go to the frame after that and make it a blank keyframe. So in other words, we're going to draw the guy right over here, and then we're going to leave a keyframe in between for the in-between framing. Okay, so now I'm going to draw my guy again. Try and get his proportions to be somewhat similar. Basically, if I just make this guy really small, then I'm usually doing okay. Okay, so, you know, and it's really interesting. You can see, you can tell right here that this guy is not as big as that guy because of the difference of how tall they stand. And so, you know, I can easily adjust for that by selecting him and trying to make this guy a little bigger, and try to make him so that he basically has the same height as that other guy. Let's see. So that looks a little bit better. Squish him down just a little bit more. That's too much. Okay. All right, let's say right there. Okay, so this is better. He's a little thicker over here, but he's about the same height, and that makes me want to work with this guy a little bit and maybe make him just slightly bigger. Just to try and get everything, just to get some consistency to things. In fact, you know, there's that whole squash and stretch principle. So by all rights, this guy would have the same volume as the other guys, but he'd be stretched up a little taller. So that looks a little better to me, those 3 guys there, right? Okay, so now this is pose to pose. I've got pose 1, I've got pose 2, and I've got pose 3. And now I go back and do the in-betweens. So I'm going to click on my second frame here. And at this point, I can just zoom in because there's no reason not to. And now I'll go ahead and draw an in-between frame. So I think about where a line might exist that connects the top of their heads, and I draw a guy, you know, in between that, or at least the head of a guy like that. And then, you know, where the arms are, and then the legs would be a little more straightened out. Maybe not as completely straight as that guy right there. Okay, so there's my guy. It's kind of in between. I can see that I would like him to be just a little bit more, just a little taller, so that he looks like he's sort of, you know, really does exist in the world between these 2 guys. And that makes me feel like he's, you know, a better in between. Okay, and then I can go to this frame right here and draw my last guy here. So once again, I'll draw the head so it's about the same size as everybody else. I'll draw my little guy's arm, this arm. Like that. Once again, I don't know what it is, but I tend to always draw these guys too small. So, you know, I'll select this guy again, retransform it, try and just get him a little higher, right? And then good. Now you can see, you know, obviously these are really simple characters and it's not a perfect drawing or whatever, but you can see a certain smoothness to this. You can see that there's a curve that goes underneath it and a curve that could be drawn above it. And it's a lot, you know, it's a lot smoother than what is above. And the characters are also a lot closer proportionately in size. Like look at the comparison of this to, if we click on this one and we turn on our onion skinning, let's see. I got to go all the way down to this to be able to see them all, right? So if you look at this one, okay, I guess my internet is unstable. Thank you for that. If you look at this one, you know, first we have those three guys at the beginning, which are just wonky. And then, actually, these guys aren't too bad. You know, there's a nice curve you could draw down here. Okay, yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. I guess my internet.
Sure, what happened?
My internet connection just was unstable for a second. Sorry about that. Okay, but as I was saying, you can see in this top drawing that there's a nice little curve you could draw for the bottom part, but for the top part, like this head is too low, so we don't have a nice curve there. Now, when we zoom back out, so that we could, you know, presumably see both animations, you know, one of them is going to be a lot quicker than the other because it's just 5 as opposed to like 7 frames. But we can turn on this loop and turn off our onion skinning and go back to the beginning of the animation and then just hit play. And you can see, I mean, at least to me, it's pretty clear that the guy in the bottom is just kind of a smoother animation. You know, he's just making his little leap. And this
How can
guy,
I
of
make
course,
it
here
more
talking
slow?
about the problems. What's that?
How can I make it more slow?
You're gonna make it more slow?
Yeah, the animation.
Okay. You want me to make it more slow, or
Yes, because it's
you
like
can't really see? Okay. Let me stop it. Okay, I'll take it down to 3 frames per second. Let me try that. Is that better? What do you think, Hugo? Is that better? Okay. I don't know what happened to your microphone, but if there's a problem with your microphone, you could always just type something in the chat here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so you know, go ahead and give this a shot. Hopefully you've been drawing the whole time I have, and you're pretty close to where I am. But I'll give you guys a few minutes to finish this off. Let's see, it's 11:52 right now, so why don't I give you guys till noon to finish this off or to get a little further on it, and then I'll check back in on you. And let me know if you have any problems or questions. I'll go ahead and stop this. I'll pause this, and I'll go ahead and stop my share so that you guys can have your whole screen to work with. And then I'll check back with you in about 8 minutes.